Have you ever wondered why someone would cheat, even when they seem happy in their relationship? We often assume that if someone cheats, they must be unhappy, right? But what if the truth is more complicated than that? Today, we're going to dive into the psychology behind infidelity and explore why people who seem perfectly happy might still cheat. Welcome to Mind Matters Expert. So, let's talk about this. It's easy to think of happiness in a relationship as a one-size-fits-all thing. You know, the idea that everything should be perfect: emotional support, physical affection, shared values. But the truth is, happiness doesn't look the same for everyone. And even in relationships where everything seems great on the surface, infidelity can still happen. Why do happy people cheat? Why is that? Well, happiness in a relationship isn't just one big, all-encompassing feeling. It's made up of all these little needs and moments. And sometimes those needs aren't fully met. Maybe your partner's wonderful at being there emotionally, but something's missing when it comes to intimacy. Or perhaps you have great affection, but the intellectual connection is lacking. Even if everything seems perfectly fine on the outside, someone might still look elsewhere to fill that gap. That one thing they feel is missing. Unmet emotional needs. Why it's not always about dissatisfaction. Now let's think about unmet emotional needs. This is a big one. We all have emotional needs, right? And sometimes, even in the happiest of relationships, those needs get overlooked or neglected. Life gets busy. You fall into a routine. And before you know it, you start feeling a little bit unseen, a little bit misunderstood. Not because your partner doesn't care, but because things have just shifted. And here's where it gets tricky. When those emotional needs aren't being fully met, someone might seek attention, validation, or connection somewhere else. It's not about being unhappy with their partner. It's about wanting that one emotional need filled. So, they go outside the relationship not to replace their partner, but to fulfill something that's missing. The desire for novelty. Why familiar isn't always enough. Speaking of needs, another big reason people cheat is the desire for novelty. Humans are naturally drawn to excitement. Think about it. The thrill of meeting someone new, that rush of getting attention, or maybe even the adrenaline of doing something a little forbidden. It's easy to get pulled in by that. Even in relationships where everything is great, people can still feel the temptation of novelty. The everyday routine starts to feel predictable, and when something new and exciting comes along, it can feel like a shot of energy. It's almost like a quick emotional high, a burst of dopamine. And before you know it, someone might act on it, thinking it's just a temporary fix or a harmless escape from the monotony. Now, let's talk about self-esteem. For some people, infidelity is tied to how they feel about themselves. If someone feels undervalued or unnoticed in their relationship, it's not necessarily because they're unhappy with their partner. It might be because they need to feel desired again. Imagine this. Someone feels invisible in their relationship, not because their partner doesn't love them, but because over time, life has distracted them from feeling truly seen. In those moments, someone might seek attention elsewhere, not because they want to hurt their partner, but because they need to reclaim that feeling of being desirable, important, or worthy of admiration. It's about bolstering their own self-worth. Infidelity doesn't always mean physical cheating either. There's something called an emotional affair. Sometimes, the emotional connection someone forms with another person can be just as, if not more, damaging than physical cheating. Emotional affairs happen when there's an intimate connection, those late-night conversations, shared vulnerabilities, the feeling that someone really gets you. It might start innocently. Maybe they just don't feel that emotional connection at home, so they turn to someone outside the relationship. It's not necessarily about being unhappy with their partner. It's more about feeling emotionally unfulfilled. Over time, this emotional intimacy can grow, and before you know it, it crosses a line into something deeper, sometimes even physical. It's not about wanting to replace their partner. It's about filling an emotional need they feel isn't being met. Let's also consider the role of social and cultural factors in all of this. In today's world, casual relationships, flirting, and even online dating are all pretty normalized. Social media and dating apps make it so easy to reconnect with old flames or meet new people, sometimes without even intending to cheat. It starts out innocently enough, just a friendly chat or a quick flirtation. But before long, these seemingly harmless interactions can deepen and turn into something more. That easy access to new connections can blur the lines of what's acceptable behavior in a committed relationship, and suddenly, what seemed innocent is no longer harmless. Impulse control. Acting on desire in the heat of the moment. Speaking of actions in the moment, another big factor is impulse control. Sometimes people cheat not because they're unhappy, but because they act on a momentary desire or temptation. It's like when the desire to satisfy an emotional or physical urge overrides the consequences. People who struggle with emotional regulation may find it harder to control those impulses, and in those moments, the temptation can feel irresistible. This isn't about being dissatisfied with the relationship. It's more about acting without fully thinking through the long-term effects. It's that instant gratification that can cloud judgment in the heat of the moment. Revenge or retaliation, cheating as a way to even the score. And sometimes, infidelity is about revenge or retaliation. Have you ever been hurt or betrayed by someone and you just wanted to get back at them? Well, that's another reason people cheat. If one partner feels wronged or hurt, whether through neglect, a past betrayal, or some other unresolved issue, they might cheat as a form of payback. It's not about fixing the relationship. It's about evening the score, taking back some control. While this might stem from deep emotional pain or frustration, it still leaves lasting damage on the relationship. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, infidelity isn't just about being unhappy or dissatisfied in a relationship. It's about a lot of deeper psychological factors, many of which can exist even in happy relationships. Whether it's unmet emotional needs, the desire for novelty, seeking self-validation, or simply acting on impulses in the moment, people can cheat even when things seem perfectly fine at home. That doesn't make it right, but understanding the psychological drivers behind it helps us see the bigger picture. If we want to prevent infidelity, we need to dig deeper than the surface-level assumptions. We need open communication, mutual understanding, and a willingness to address needs in the relationship. Relationships are dynamic, and so are the needs of the people within them. Thanks for watching Mind Matters Expert. If this video added value to your day, give it a like, share it with someone who could benefit, and subscribe for more practical mindset and growth content. Drop a comment. I'd love to hear how you're applying these tools in your life. See you next time. Stay focused and stay empowered.